Analog horror. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it is a subgenre of horror that mainly tells its stories through the lens of analog media, stuff like VHS tapes for example, being essentially found footage styled series portrayed in formats that predate our modern, more digital era. This genre of horror has honestly fascinated me for the longest time, with stuff like The Backrooms, The Walton Files, and pretty much anything to do with FNAF being some of the most interesting and effective uses of the format. But there is one side to analog horror that has always made me very intrigued, and that's the prehistoric side to it.
Hello?
You see, while a lot of these are Jurassic themed, it doesn't really matter, because in general, the idea of any prehistoric animal coming back to hunt you down is a scary thought, but is often underplayed, with stuff like the Jurassic movies often glorifying the idea to be cool as hell. But when you remove the notion of it being a movie with stakes and characters, and instead make the situations grounded in reality, it goes from kinda scary to downright horrific. And you know, there's something about this art form that I feel is highly underappreciated. Because really think about it, when were dinosaurs ever effectively used in horror? As a society, we often glorified these animals into being either charming and whimsical or awesome movie monsters, and so we can forget that they are just animals, and animals are unpredictable and not always going to be friendly. That's right kids, Barney was not your friend. Prehistoric analog horror has got to be one of the most underappreciated uses to the format, because it's not as easy as you might think. You can't just show people running away from dinosaurs and have that be it, because that's not interesting on its own. No, you gotta add a little more to make it work. So, today I wanted to take a look at 4 videos in particular that demonstrate the multiple brilliant ways people have brought this style to life. Starting with the San Diego incident. By the way, links to all these videos are going to be in the description, so be sure to go down there and watch them for yourself. Now, the San Diego incident has to be one of my personal favourite videos out there, as if you can recall, this video is actually another sort of what-if POV from the Lost World, specifically with the San Diego scene with the bull T-Rex rampaging through the city, and here is where the brilliance of this medium comes into play, because this is what I call the clueless bystander approach, where it's someone who's completely unaware of what's going on and is just sort of filming what's happening, similar to Cloverfield in that aspect. And this one video does so many things to immerse the viewer right away. With the handheld POV, it feels very personal and as if it feels like we are really there, with how everything is shot and framed in the camera. Our POVs are low to the ground, with the slightest stomp sending major shockwaves through the screen. We feel small, we feel alone, with the almost eerie silence going on, until we are met with the bull T-Rex staring us down and blowing out our eardrums with a fearsome roar. And it's right here where this video excels with the horror, because every time we see the Rex, it is always filmed from the low ground. It feels genuinely massive, plus throw in the haunting white eyes as it stares directly into our soul, and you get an image that leaves you with goosebumps. This is the most simple approach to dinosaur analog horror, but it is incredibly effective. With well-chosen camera angles, as well as a brilliant sound design, I feel like this short all comes together so well because of that sound design, with careful use of sound effects that make stuff like the T-Rex roar feel that much more intimidating and impactful. So overall, this short video was a brilliant insight into the possibilities this format has. But what about if we take it a step further? What if instead of the dinosaurs coming to us, we go to the dinosaurs? These two videos fit a very similar criteria, as they do very similar things, as here we are shown multiple people going to where the dinosaurs are. In the case of the lost tapes, it seems that what we see are a few survivors from a plane crash who end up struggling to survive on the island and get picked off one by the dinosaurs. And the reason why this video works so well is because it makes the viewer feel uncomfortable. It throws us into this jungle of the island with the bad quality of the camera adding to the atmosphere, as not everything we see is very clear. It's all either out of focus or not seen at all. Plus the aspect ratio, man, very few people understand the art of the aspect ratio, but it adds so much depending on the story, with it here being very square and small in comparison to the large screen you might watch this on. It makes everything you see feel much more claustrophobic and almost like a prison, with the quality making the dinosaurs and the jungle feel far more intimidating, as it's less of what we do see but more of what we don't see, with the horror of being stranded on an island with nothing but a camera creeping in more and more as we watch along. We feel less like a person, but more so a scared prey animal running for its life in a world it doesn't really understand. We feel the horror, the confusion, and the pain brought to life brilliantly through the voice acting. But what about the Carnotaurus found footage? How is that similar? Well, just like the lost tapes, it involves a cameraman going to where the dinosaurs are and being in their environment. But unlike the lost tapes, it's done in a different way here, as we get two storylines overlapping, with an employee going to check on one of the captured Carnotaurus in a more corporate building, and another story that involves a almost nature documentary aspect with the camera tracking two Carnos in the wild. It feels very random. The more we learn about one story, the more terrifying the other one becomes. As we see in the footage of the Carnos in the wild, they go about their business and they gradually get smarter and bolder, with them being far more interested in the camera. It almost feels like the Carnotauruses are becoming aware of us, the viewers, slowly testing what the limits are of what's possible, until one of them gets too close to the camera and we're suddenly thrown back into a now dark and unfriendly corporate building. The lights are off, and yet we are being watched by one Carnotaurus. It doesn't roar, it doesn't run, it just watches us, planning, scheming, waiting for the best moment to strike. And it's here where this video truly excels, as it plays more into the more curious and unpredictable aspect to these wild animals, using that mystery and uncertainty to make the viewers feel a sense of impending dread and panic, as we trade the brightly lit fresh outside to a more darker and more enclosed inside. And so, both of these videos demonstrate the strengths of how you can make this format work by going to the dinosaurs themselves. But what if not only the dinosaurs come to us, but when time itself breaks and we are powerless against it? Now, Prehistoric Emergence has to be the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. It's not only the most ambitious one of them all, but it's one that plays to the genre's strengths the most. As if you have not seen this series yet, first off you should, but secondly, it's about random holes in the earth opening up and bringing creatures from the past into modern day, as it starts from the sea and eventually leads up to creatures like the Smilodons, the Meganeura, and the most terrifying one of them all, the Daba. This series is presented to us like we are watching a case of classified files, records of events that have already transpired, with news interviews, surveillance tapes, and even televised warnings from government agencies trying to calm the public down. And this style of approach is not only open to a lot of lore, but it's so effective because of how real it all feels. The events that happen are very fantastical, but it's the way this series grounds itself that makes it truly horrifying. As we see humanity forced to respond to what feels like an almost biblical attack and being virtually powerless against it, with swarms of creatures affecting the natural ecosystem, ruining economies, and even picking off people one by one. But it's not the acts themselves that are the scariest aspects here, but it's what we don't know which makes everything 10 times worse. Think of it like being afraid of the dark. It's not necessarily the dark itself we're afraid of, but more so the unknown behind it, the lack of understanding of what's out there and why, with mysterious plagues emerging, fears that perhaps this is a divine intervention dooming humanity for its sins, or even nature itself breaking apart with time periods colliding, as this series portrays these events like real events, as certain details are obscured and our senses of safety feeling oppressed. It's a very fine line to go from too obscure to too mysterious, but it walks that line just right, with the few nuggets this series gives us adding to the disturbing terror as we find out more and more about what's going on with the supernatural element at play here. As if you remember the Daba, that T-Rex is revealed to be an infant and still growing, once again making us ask uncomfortable questions about what could potentially be out there and us using our minds to imagine what could be next. We could talk about Prehistoric Emergence genuinely all day, but I highly recommend you guys go check it out for yourself, because this series is a masterpiece of terror that deserves to be experienced as open-minded as you can. So, again, go watch it, because to me, it's my favorite case of dinosaur analog horror, because it does the medium so much justice. And in retrospect, I feel that videos like these deserve far more love and appreciation than they often get, because they do something that Hollywood has really struggled for decades now, that being making dinosaurs legitimately terrifying. I swear to God, there's a goldmine of paleo horror out there and we've barely scratched the surface. So if you take anything away from today, take this. Analog horror is a underrated and challenging art form that many talented people have taken a crack at. So be sure to give this genre of horror the love it deserves. Just let the people know who make this stuff that their work is appreciated, because while it seems easy to pull off to some people, it actually requires a lot of work and consideration in order to get it just right. But what do you guys think? What are your personal favourite dinosaur analog horror videos? Tell me them down in the comments below, and maybe I might make a part 2 to this video where I go over more analog dinosaur horror videos. So if you want to see me make that video, then comment down below what other short videos I should watch. And if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more content just like this, then be sure to like this video and subscribe. Doing so not only tells me you want more content just like this, but it actually helps me make that content for you guys a whole lot faster. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.